Quinn's recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, very much. I appreciate it. Ms. Grosh, I believe you stated in your opening statement you've been at the State Department dealing with these claims settlement process for about 30 years?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, about 30 years, thank you. And you've been involved in a number of different transactions. How many of them have been settled in cash?
To be clear, I'm not involved in the exact financial transactions, but I have...
To your knowledge, the settlements that you have been involved with, is it common for these settlements to be disposed of in cash?
Again, I think as I raised, Congressman, with one of your colleagues, there have been various pretty large settlements over time, some small. Each one has been sui generis, and there has been a difference in the way many of those
Okay, so you're not going to answer me the question how common it is to use cash. Let's just move on. You know, I got to be very honest with you. I'm very concerned about this, and I think all kinds of Americans across our great land are concerned about this. I certainly know the people that I represent up in Maine are very concerned about this. Now, let's step back for a minute. We have a government that has vowed to wipe our major ally in the Middle East, really our only one that we trust, I think, Israel, off the face of the earth. And they vowed to kill as many Americans as they can, and they have blood on their hands right now. And you've been working on a claim settlement here that dates back 37 years. And you testify, Ms. Grosh, earlier today that because of the sanctions in place back in January, that there was an inability to transfer $1.7 billion from America to Iran because of the banking system problems, because of the sanctions, which we now know is not true. So all of a sudden, we have a wire transfer going from this country to a bank account in Europe somewhere, Switzerland, I presume, where it's then converted into cash. $400 million of principal payments and $1.3 billion in cash. And then it's transferred to a pallet or a series of pallets and put on a cargo plane in Europe before it's flown to Tehran. So my question to you is, since we don't want any of this cash to land in the hands of terrorists who are trying to kill Americans in the Middle East, who at the other end of that transaction, Ms. Grosh? You worked on this transaction for a long time. Who in Europe, when that cash was put on wooden pallets before it was sent over to Tehran, what top-ranking American official was there to see that cash? Who?
I'm really not in a position to answer that because I was involved in the settlement. I believe some of my colleagues here today
Ms. McCord, do you know who it was?
Those.
Who was the top-ranking American official who was on the ground in Europe when that cash was put on a pallet before it was flown over to Tehran? Who was it?
I'm also not.
Okay, so you don't know. Mr. Hearn, do you know? You work for Treasury.
Sir, as I stated in my
okay, you weren't involved. Mr. Backmeyer, do you know somebody? You have a name for me?
Congressman, let me address your particular concern.
You have a name for me who is the top-ranking U.S. official who was on the ground when the cash was put on the pallet?
Congressman, I would be happy to brief you in a closed setting on all of the details.
Okay, Ms. Grosh, let's go back to you, since you're not going to answer me. Okay, do we know when the cash was transported from this airport in Europe to Tehran, who was the top-ranking Iranian official who was in receipt of that cash?
I was not
there. Does anybody know?
Negotiated the...
Okay, does anybody know? We're going to have the same stalling here. Does anybody know?
Sir, as I mentioned in my opening statement, the cash was eventually dispersed to a representative of the Central Bank of Iran.
Okay. Was this someone who represented the military? Or was it someone who represented economic development in Iran? Who was it? What's his name?
He was an official of the Central Bank of Iran.
Okay. Do you have a name for me?
I don't recall his name, sir.
But you do have a name. You just don't recall it now, correct?
Sir, there are a variety of people.
Okay, so you do. There is a person, though, correct? And you have that name. You just told me, I think you just referred, you don't recall who it is. That means there is someone and there is a name, correct?
Sir, there were a variety of officials involved in this transaction. I'd have to take that question back.
So if our office got in touch with yours, Mr. Hearn, you could tell us who that individual was, or those individuals were, can't you?
We will take that inquiry back, sir.
Say it again?
I will take that inquiry back, sir.
I didn't hear you. My ears are bad.
I will take your inquiry back, sir.
You take my inquiry back. No, I don't want the inquiry back. I want the answer. I want to know who was in receipt of that cash when those pallets of cash landed in Tehran. Here's what. Here's the problem, Mr. Hearn. We don't have any idea where this cash went. We don't know who received it. We don't know what it was used for, and it's untraceable, and it's with a country that is the state sponsor of terrorism, one of the 3 state sponsors of terrorism in this world. Don't you think that's a problem, Mr. O'Hearn? We don't even know who received the cash.
A couple of points, sir. One, to carry on the comments of my colleague, I would commend to you the testimony of Acting Undersecretary Zubin, who has testified about the funds freed up by the JCPOA and has testified about the deep economic hole that Iran was in, to the tune of $500 billion. And so I would commend that testimony.
Cash is the currency of terrorism. This is a state sponsor of terrorism that received $1.7 billion of cash on a pallet in Tehran. Our office will be in touch with yours, Mr. Hearn, so we can find out who the Iranian officials were who were in receipt of that cash. Thank you, Mr.
The gentleman's time has expired. The chair now